Welcome back to the Creatively Curious podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walter. Today's episode will be recapping week 4 of the Creative Visionary program. So, week 4 is on value. And this was a real game changer for me last year. So, this is my second year taking this program. And I don't think I had actually ever thought about painting in that way. So the value is the lightness or darkness of a shape or area in your art. So basically, taking the two kind of polar opposites, white and black. So that's a super huge value contrast when you put white and black together. Um, and, it's really appealing when we have those contrasts in our art. And um, I noticed that when I was doing painting, I guess within the past few years, that my paintings were actually kind of mid-range in the value on the value scale. So we looked at basically taking white to black on like a 10 rating scale. And for those of you maybe watching this on Spotify, or YouTube, you can just take a look. So in the program, 1 would be white and 10 would be black. And you take, you can start, it's probably easier to start with white and then add just a little bit of black. And then you keep going for 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. And so to achieve like high contrast, you want to use maybe 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3 on the scale. So that's like darker and lighter. And then not that you want to avoid the mid range, but if everything in your painting is middle of that range, it's pretty blah. And there's really no contrast. And so even a painting that I actually had really liked, um, I just noticed that it was all kind of mid value. And like that painting I had at an art walk and just it didn't sell, it hasn't sold. And so I ended up actually changing the background to be lighter because everything kind of just looked the same on it. So the takeaways of this week. So value is the lightness or darkness of a shape or area in your art. And it's one of the most powerful differences to change and affect your art. And it really has been like now I really pay attention to that. Some of my older art, I feel like, and again, if you're watching the video, I have one on my wall here. I feel like there is that contrast there. So that I did that when I was in a class, a painting class, and I found like interestingly, whenever I've been in a class, my art has been a bit stronger. And then when I'm kind of working by myself, I maybe forget all these principles. So, um, and this will often be where challenges arise in and it's not necessarily just painting, but with anything visual. We like that contrast. We kind of gravitate towards that. I'm just even looking at, we got these little things when we went to Europe. We flew on like an Amsterdam airline. So they gave us these little replicas of these houses. So there's the contrast right there. So it's like a dark blue and a white. And they're just super cute probably because of that contrast. Would they be as cute if it was all white or all black? Probably not. So, and once you are aware of this principle, then you just start seeing it everywhere. Um, so the other takeaway this week. So value contrast is what we notice, where your eye goes first in a picture, and then your eye will kind of just track all the different areas that are the most contrasty. And then, and that's what we notice from far away too. And then when we get up close, we'll notice more subtle differences. But initially, that's where our eye goes first and kind of what we're attracted to with that painting. Um, things that, so value creates depth, things that have more contrast come forward, things that have less contrast go back. They're more subtle and not as noticeable. And you see that in a landscape. I mean, even if you're just looking at something in real life, so we were just in the mountains, but on the weekend, when you're looking out at your landscape, far away is more blurry, less, kind of maybe more lighter blue, or almost like not grayed out, but kind of misty. And then obviously everything up close. And then as you come more forward, there's more detail, more things are more vibrant. That's just how it looks in real life. So that's what you'd want to capture in a painting. So up close in the painting, more detail, more contrast, and further away is less contrast. And not as noticeable. Differences in our art and our life bring us alive. So using value makes the art exciting to look at. Um, and then, yeah, we talk about, which also was kind of a game changer. I've never heard this, loud conversation and quiet conversation. So the loud conversation is that contrast, like the white versus black, um, uh, just that high visibility with the contrast. And then a quiet conversation is subtle. Um, and the quiet conversation could be in the lights. So you might have, you know, more on the lighter end of the scale, 1, 2, 3, like those kind of playing with each other. Um, but then it also could be in the darks. So you have blacks and then almost black, dark gray. And if those are kind of playing around with each other, then those would be in the quiet conversation as well. And that's also important. So it's not always just about the big high value contrast. It's like, but you don't notice that initially from far away. What's drawing you in is that the loud conversation, and then the quiet conversation is what's happening more up close. And again, it's been so interesting to me to learn these principles this way, because I will often obtain that, I think, with texture. We're not there yet with the texture, but I started to just like love scraping into the paint. Sometimes actually it can be a loud conversation. There's a painting that I'm working on now where I had painted dark a uh, previous layer and then light over top of it, and then scraped into it so that dark color comes through, and then that becomes a bit of the loud conversation. So, and again, I'm not really like thinking about these principles as I'm painting. As am I? I think they're like now kind of just in the back of my mind. I guess I do. I think about the value contrast. I do think about that. And then like what what will my next mark be, and how can it be different from what I've done? Um, so I do think about that. And then later, like, when I'm thinking about kind of refining a painting, like how can I improve this? How can I make it better? Then I'll think about the quiet and loud conversation. And always like, is there enough contrast here for people to really be drawn into the painting? So there's obviously like more that goes into this week, but I think those are kind of just high level. Um, then there's exercises that we've done, and some collaging that I really love collaging. Does anyone who's listening to this podcast love collaging as much as I do? Um, and even just part of this program with, I think I talked about this in previous episodes, we've done like dream board, art board, stuff like that. So using collage for that too. And there's something about just like finding images from magazines, and I always find what I want. Like I did a dream board. I've done a couple dream board workshops for people, which I really love doing. And someone was like, "Oh, these magazines just aren't really the greatest magazines." And I was like, "Really? Like I could probably somebody could hand me like newspapers, and I would find what I needed in the newspapers." Like I don't know. I'm like, I'll find what I want. I'll find what I need. I probably wouldn't love newspapers because they're not as colorful, but like I'm sure I could create something out of the newspapers. So it's also like, um, just our like how we approach things, our like attitude about things too. Is like I just had all these like old magazines from when I've done these workshops, and I found like once again I just found these like such appropriate images and everything I needed to make the dream board that I wanted, and then this black and white collage. So yeah, there's just something about kind of whipping out a glue stick and slapping things together. I was trying to get my kids to love it too. I don't know, they don't love it as much as I do. For why? What's wrong with these kids these days? Um, but anyway, that's been really fun. And also like the color piece will come, but thinking about color in regards to this value scale has also been really, really helpful for me. And one tip that has been helpful also is to take a picture of whatever it is that you're working on. Is it a collage? Is it a painting? Is it whatever kind of visual design that you're working on? Take a picture of it, switch it into black and white if it isn't already in black and white, and see what contrast there is. If there's not that much contrast, then it means you're kind of floating around in this mid-range value, and then you might want to amp up the contrast a little bit. So getting some lighter values, getting some darker values in there so that there is a bit more contrast. That's been helpful. That's what I did with that one painting, that it was like of a person in a boat. And so I took a black and white photo of it and it all looked kind of same. And so that's when I ended up lightening the background. I still don't, I'm being honest, I don't love it. But I was happy with kind of the person in the boat. So I'm not quite sure how to mend that whole thing, but I did lighten the background, and that I think that has been helpful. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about this week 4 of Creative Visionary Program. Next week is week 5 on design, and then we have a break, which will be good because I need to kind of catch up a little bit. And yeah, I hope this was helpful to you. And this program has been really great. I'm doing another art walk coming up in July here in Edmonton, where I live, Alberta, the White Avenue Art Walk. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that and posting probably on my Instagram with some of the paintings that I'll have for sale there. So yeah, hope this was helpful, and I will see you next week for week 5.